Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Greater Las Vegas's Sunday morning celebration. My name is Reverend Laura Hallett, and it is my pleasure to be the spiritual leader of this amazing community located here in Southern Nevada. I want to thank each and every one of you who's here with us live this morning. If you would, just take a moment and check in on our YouTube chat. We'd love to be able to greet you personally this morning. And for those of you that are joining us later in the day, thank you very much for being here with us too. If any part of this service speaks to you today, the music, meditation, the message, please consider sharing it with others. This month, our focus for our theme of Living Everyday Wonder has been on community. Our principle for this month comes from our Centers for Spiritual Living Global Vision Statement. We envision a world in which we live and grow as one global family that respects and honors the interconnectedness of all life. Last week at our in-person service, I spoke about the need to belong that is hardwired into our DNA, and that healthy communities, those communities that actually thrive, value diversity. This week we're looking at how the need to be in community with others is formed and enhanced throughout our lives. So much of the work here at Centers for Spiritual Living and with the Science of Mind philosophy has been about personal transformation. Working on ourselves has been a major focus of what we do. And it has served each one of us very well to look at the ways that we can transform our individual lives. It served us well to understand who we are, how we function in the world, how we relate to other people around us, and then to look at those hidden beliefs that we've held for so long that have kept us having the same experiences over and over again. It is not until we know ourselves that we can understand how we engage with our community. When we begin to understand how our belief systems have been developed, especially those hidden beliefs that have been operating in our lives that we aren't really aware of, then we can begin to have a different experience as we interact with others. One of our founder, Ernest Holmes' most well-known sayings is, "Change your thinking, change your life." But you can't change your thinking if you're not aware of what it is. So we have spent much of our time and our effort in providing experiences for personal awareness. And we have classes that work through various topics like relationships, finances, forgiveness, grief, those kind of topics. And we create our Sunday experiences and our Wednesday night services to help us explore those different topics, looking at them from various points of view. We have book studies and workshops and retreats that focus on changing different aspects of our lives. And I know for me personally, this has completely shifted how I show up in the world. And as we are looking at community and how we interact with others around us, the work of personal transformation is still vitally important. The more we can understand about ourselves and how we behave in relationship to others, the more we can begin to understand how communities function around us. But when we look at how we are in relationships to others, we learn more about ourselves and we learn more about our communities. It really is a reciprocal relationship. Author Harriet Lerner puts it this way: only through our connectedness to others can we really know and enhance the self. And only through working on the self can we begin to enhance our connectedness to others. And so we have formed our local centers that provide us a place to do our personal work and to come together as a local community. And this has brought our organization to the place that it is right now. It is only in more recent years that we have become involved with and more concerned about our communities on a global level. And this, I feel, is the future of Centers for Spiritual Living. Our world is now crying out for something more than individual transformation. We are looking for ways to function as healthy, thriving communities. And I think the experiences of the last 2 years, this forced isolation we've had because of the COVID virus, has served to accentuate the need for good, strong, healthy communities. And we, each one of us individually, are hungry for meaningful ways to be together with each other in community. So how do we begin to be more a part of this global community and create experiences that provide meaningful connections within the community? Well, just like we do with ourselves, we begin looking at our current circumstances. As human beings being in relationship with others, One of the first things we need to look at is who we consider to be part of our community. Many people go in and out of our lives throughout our lifetime. Some stay for a while, some are gone in a blink of an eye. A few people come in and shake up our lives, and others lift up our spirit. Numerous people teach us what we need to learn at the time, while others seem to be of little consequence. I love the saying, people come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And what we call our community evolves and changes because of this flux, this flow of people in and out of our lives. As we evolve, our communities change too. So those we consider part of our community can be based on the amount of intimacy that we feel with each of these people within these groups. And this is often represented in a circle diagram that moves from our innermost relationships, our most intimate relationships, to people that we might consider to be strangers. So if we take a look at this chart here, we have our intimate relationships in the circle, in the center of it. Those are the people that we spend most of our time with. This could be our significant others, our partners, our spouses. It could be our children, our parents, our siblings. It could be those super close friends that we rely on for everything. These are the people that we trust with our heart and soul. These are the people that know us intimately. Our next level of community relationships would be that of our friendships. And these are the people we really choose to be around. People that we like spending our time with. These are the people that we see on a regular basis, with whom we might go to lunch or to the movies, that we talk to frequently. And while we may not always agree on every topic, they are the people with whom we have a lot of shared values. These are people that think like us, believe like us, that we like to be around, and that we are enhanced by being in their presence. Now, these two inner circles of people that we spend most of our time with, these are the folks that we might call our peeps. My friends and I call ourselves our peeps. You've also may have heard the phrase, this is our tribe. These are the group of people that we want to be around. These are the people that uplift our lives. And so our next level on the relationship chart concerns the people that we interact with throughout our various endeavors. They could be the people that we see regularly as we move through our lives, like in our work situation. Or maybe they're in social groups, like a card club or a movie club, things like that, where we come together for a social event. These are people that we meet in classes. They could be on sports teams with us. These are the folks that are important to our social life, to our career, and to many of our regular daily, weekly, monthly activities that we do. And moving further away from the center of the chart, we have the people that we have a paid relationship with. It could be our doctors and their staff, our hairstylist, different kinds of therapists, our housekeepers, maintenance workers, people that we know that we frequent periodically, and these are the people that we trust to assist us with various aspects of our lives. And finally, there are the people we don't know or those we interact with in an isolated situation. These are the people we would most likely call strangers. There usually isn't a great deal of trust at this level. These aren't the people that we know much about, and oftentimes we have some preconceived idea of who they are and how they might treat us. And so because of that, there's some fear in the idea of strangers. There's some wariness about being too involved with them. Because again, we don't know a lot about them, they don't know a lot about us, and we're not really sure what's going to happen when we get together. Now, all of these circles, is what makes up what we would call our community. Now, some people may fall into one or more category, at least be on the border of two circles. There are people who can also move from one circle to another. Like, for instance, they may start off in that exchange circle where you're providing something for you and you're paying them for it. And then you develop a nice relationship and they become a little bit closer to where you now have a friendship with them. As it gets closer and closer to the center of the diagram, the more influence you have over who gets to be in each of these circles. So you can't influence much about the stranger circle, the people that are on the outer circle that we just encounter every once in a while. You can influence something about the exchange people, but they could come and go. Like you might try one hairstylist and decide that didn't work for you, so you try another hairstylist. You can participate, you can change the people that you participate with to a certain extent. You can't always determine who you're going to work with or who you're going to socialize with, because sometimes we get in groups with people that we would rather not be in groups with. But the closer you get to the center of the circle, the more determination you have on who gets to be in that circle. We get to choose our friends. And for the most part, we get to choose those people that we're intimate with. I know it's often said we can't choose our family, but there are certain levels of intimacy we can choose to participate in with members of our family. So if this is our community, how do we build a stronger, more healthy, more thriving community around us? Well, I've already spoken about the need for personal transformation as it pertains to community development. But what else needs to be done here? Well, one of the things we can begin to look at is the language that we use when we are in community with other people. Words are powerful, and their subtle nuances of meaning can have a great impact on how we see others. Often we aren't even aware of the magnitude of the meaning of simple words. And then something will happen and will shift us. Early on in my journey through this learning of the philosophy that we practice here, the science of mind, I was experiencing some health challenges. And so I was at the chiropractor's office one day, and as she began her work on me, she asked me how I was doing. And I said, "Oh, I'm okay." I said, "But my lupus is flared up." And she looked me dead in the eye and she said, "The lupus." Honestly, this was shocking to me. In that simple exchange of a 2-letter word, my, for a 3-letter word, the, brought a whole new awareness to how much I was embodying and embracing that illness in my life. I realized my simple 2-letter word, my, meant I was totally owning that. Words really have power. Words have the power to build, and they have the power to destroy. We can become more inclusive by choosing our words carefully. And we can alienate and divide ourselves from others through the words that we choose to use. For a while in our country, people were trying to choose words that they used so that they would not offend anybody else. We call this being politically correct. And then for a while, politically correct became a thing to denigrate, a thing to put down. It honestly has nothing to do with politically or politics. But I think it has to do with our intent. I think the question that we need to ask ourselves when we're faced with these situations is this: are the words I'm using building relationship or destroying it? It really isn't a matter of having to know all the right words and the current terminology and that whole alphabet soup of abbreviations and the proper pronouns. It's about intention. Is my intention to connect or to divide? So let's take an example here of the pronoun they when it's being used to refer to a singular person. There's been a lot of controversy about that in recent years. In 2018, the Oxford Dictionary added they as a singular pronoun. It's come to be used for people who don't identify as completely male or female. And people have had a reaction to this, and most often they say, well, it just doesn't work with my grammar. My grammar won't let me do this. They is plural, so I can't say, I can't get the verb tense and the pronoun to match, so it bothers me. And so we go through this whole diatribe of how I can't use this word because I can't use it in that sentence because they refers to more than one person. But the truth is, we have been using they as a singular person forever. We've used it when we're talking about a single person that we could not identify. For instance, how many times have you been driving on the road and had somebody pull in front of us, And then we say, I can't believe they just cut me off. Now, there's only one driver in that car. There may be more people in there, but there's only ever one driver. It's a single person. And we freely use the pronoun they when we're describing that one driver. Or we see some money on the floor and we say, oh, I wonder whose that is. They must have dropped it. It's not more than one person. It's one person, but we're using this pronoun they to describe one person in this situation, where we object to doing it in other situations. I think we can all agree that the reluctance to use the pronoun they to describe one person who doesn't identify as completely male or female has a lot more to do about our feelings around gender non-conforming people than it ever had to do about using the correct grammar. But when we refuse to identify people correctly, we alienate them. When we choose to use archaic terms to describe certain groups of people, we alienate them. When we only use the masculine pronouns in our writing, or we only see them in books that have been written in the past, we alienate half the population. Our words matter. Words have power. That old adage about sticks and stones is so far from ever being true. Words have power. They have the power to build up or to tear down. And so when we're building community, it is very important that we are conscious about the language we choose to use. Now, last week I spoke about the quality of the questions we can ask and how shifting our questions can take us out of victim consciousness. This is vitally important, that when we are at any level of a community, that we're asking questions that improve relationships. One way we do this is by practicing open curiosity instead of coming from a place of judgment or preconceived ideas. We can ask questions that demonstrate our curiousness about the other and not ask questions that show that we've already formed a conclusion and that we're just simply looking to demonstrate that. So here we are approaching the holidays. So for instance, I can ask the question, how do you celebrate the holidays? Which comes from a place of open curiosity. Or I can ask, why do you people do that at Christmas? Can't you just feel the judgment that's embedded in that last question? It all depends on how I come at the question. Am I coming at it from a place of curiosity? Am I open to a new answer? Or do I have an idea of some judgment that I've already assigned to it that I just want to get verified, validated? Far too often we let our past experiences form our beliefs about a current situation. We prejudge it before we ever ask any questions about it. Practicing curiosity in interactions with others helps develop a deeper and richer relationships. Curiosity expresses a genuine interest in another person's lived experience in the world, without forming an opinion based on our own assumptions or biases. Curiosity is the way that we approach others with an open heart. Another thing that we can do is to begin to look for the possibilities inherent in every relationship. In his book Community, Peter Block writes, "When we approach things through the lens of possibility, it becomes a declaration of what we create in a world each time we show up. It is a condition or value that we want to occur in the world, such as peace, inclusion, relatedness, or reconciliation. A possibility is brought into being by the act of declaring it." So for instance, if you declare that you are the possibility of peace in the world, even though peace may not reign at this moment in your particular community, the possibility of peace enters the room just because you have walked through the door. When you declare that you are the possibility of the peace and you walk into a situation, peace is now possible there. Peace enters each relationship because you believe that peace is possible between you and another. Peace exists here in a future not dependent upon an achievement. It is a possibility that exists within the infinite field of possibilities. The possibility is created by our declaration of it, and then, thankfully, it begins to work through us and on us and show up as us. In his latest book, Surviving Storms, which is all about moving through the COVID pandemic, it's a fabulous book, author Mark Nepo writes this. He discusses the decline of communities over the last couple of decades, and he says, "We are suffering great alienation today, as thousands of our citizens are separated from aspects of their human nature, including a true sense of self and a deep regard for others." He goes on to say that the depth of our alienation is a systemic result of people being treated like parts of a mechanized society. The way to overcome this sense of separation, this sense of mechanization, this sense of just moving through our day, is by beginning to open our hearts to others, beginning to live from that place of an open heart. Mark Nepo says, in deep and lasting ways, living with an open heart is how the soul maps out what is. So in each moment, in each interaction that we have with another, we have some questions that we can ask ourselves. When we communicate with others, are we choosing to isolate and divide, or to understand and unite? Are we accepting the cruelty we see in the world, or are we enabling peace and kindness to prevail? Do we acquiesce to the circumstances we face with fear and resignation? Or do we embrace the possibility that exists right there? And finally, do we harden our hearts, or are we willing to open them and see what happens? Each one of us, in each generation, faces these questions. Each time we engage with others, each time we come together as community, we have an opportunity to ask empowering questions and to open our hearts to the answers. This is powerful work that we've been brought here to do. It is the same work that will transform us individually and will transform our communities. So let's take this into prayer now, into our spiritual mind treatment. Knowing that the infinite possibility of this amazing world and the amazing communities that we can begin to form exists right here and right now. And so if you will, just simply turn within. Allow your mind to become still. And bring your awareness to your heart center. And I know that my heart center, my place of connection, my place of deep abiding peace, is felt right within the center of my being. And I know that from this place, I feel that connection with the One, that one all-pervading presence, that one creative love intelligence that has brought forth everything into existence. That one that from the very beginning, through its own essence, with its own energy, brought forth everything into existence. All that has ever been, all that is yet to be, is simply an emanation, a perfect creation of the One. And because I know that there is only one, I know that I am one with it. All that I am, all that I could ever be, is that divine essence of the One. The wholeness and the perfection of that One resides right at the heart of my being. And as I know this is true for me, I know this is true for each and every one of us. For we are all unique and perfect in the eyes of the divine. And so knowing this, I speak my word of truth. I know that right here and right now, that this magnificent presence is unfolding itself through each and every one of us. That we are that open heart of the divine, attracting to us and showing up as us in community, in relationship, in love and perfection, right here and right now. I know that as we open ourselves to this field of infinite possibility. Infinite possibilities begin to show up in our lives. They begin to grace us. They begin to make changes in our lives, in our world, in our communities, and in each one of us individually. I know that this divine grace is constantly moving itself into form through each and every one of us. And it does so more willingly and more openly as we prepare ourselves and make ourselves available to it. As we open our heart in divine curiosity, expecting the possibilities to show up, then we become a place for transformation within ourselves and within our communities. And I am so grateful to know this, so grateful to feel this, so grateful to see it happening right here, right now. And I release this word, sending it back to that divine intelligence that always says yes. I let it be, and I let it go. And so it is. Amen.